Welcome back to Wojo Mojo. Been a while since I made anything, but, well, not really that long. Anyway, I have here a 22 plus pound bone-in ribeye. All right, this is USDA choice. It's got the fat cap on there. I am leaving that on. It is staying on. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to break it down. All right. I'm not going to. I'm going to make a roast out of this, and then I'm also going to. I'm going to take the ribs off, and I'll make ribs separately. I'm not going to do this in this video. I'm just going to break it down, and then I'm going to, off the large end, I'm going to cut steaks. All right. And the large end is the piece that has the smallest amount of tenderloin cap, the cap on it, on the ribeye steak or the roast. All right, so that's how I'm going to cook. That's how I'm going to prepare this. I'll make several steaks and I'll make the roast. But mainly, I'm just going to show you how to. It's cheaper to buy it like this. People go, oh, that must be a lot of money. Yeah, it was $180 something, right? But it was like $6.99 a pound, right? Try getting some quality beef like that for $6.99 a pound. You just have to buy it the right time of year. Buy it when there's a season where ribeye roasts are popular, and then that way you can get the deals. All right, and if you just put them in the freezer. I put them in the freezer. They do fine, I buy the whole cryovac. I don't undo it, I just put it right in the freezer. Sometimes I prep it up. I cut it up and I shrink wrap. I have the little shrink wrap machine there, and which I'm going to do. I'm going to do with this, but you can put the whole thing right in the freezer, save it for another time of year, or you can just cut it up and do them individually. Works out very well. So let's start with I'm just using a regular knifey. Use what you've got. Just make sure it's sharp. All right. The sharpest knife in the box is going to be the one that you're less likely to cut yourself with. And I might switch out knives here. I just wanted to see how this one does, just because I kind of like the knife. It's kind of cool, and it's something that I would take camping. So I'm going to try to run right along the top of the ribs here. All right, and it's okay if I have a little bit of meat on the ribs, because it's going to make for a meatier rib. Now I do try to get a thick one. All right, sometimes you buy them and they seem like thinner, like about an inch off of this, or an inch or two off of this. I don't like those thin ones. They just don't have a nice shape to them that I prefer, so I prefer that traditional, real steak-looking steak if I cut it as a steak. And as a roast, I like the way I cook it, real low and slow, so it kind of works it. Now this is going to be a little bit lengthy getting this off. Just fast forward through if you want to. But my objective here is to just get these ribs off, and you don't have, it's not rocket science, okay? They're curved, so I'm going to be working it down. I'll flip it over and work it from the other side too, and work it up. All right, I just want to keep them as close to the ribs as possible. That way it doesn't ruin the overall steak. The cut of steak when I do it as steaks as well. So just take your time with it. The reason why I don't trim it is I eat all the fat. I do the carnivore diet. All right, keeps me in good shape. I don't have to work for a six-pack. I don't work out. I just I eat healthy. It is smart, though, to work out, because it builds conditioning in your body. I did a lot of conditioning when I was younger, and I should stay on top of it again now. All right, so anyway, flipping it to work these ribs back. You've got to kind of cut in an angle out to get around the bone portions, because it's almost like a knuckle there. But you want to get close right back to the bone as quick as you can once you get around it when you're trimming it. So I'm just right now kind of mapping out what I'm going to take off here, how far back I have to cut. As you can see, I had to cut quite a bit back, right, before I could turn my blade. I had to go down, get around this is bone right here too. So I had to cut back, and now I've got to cut back around and come down and chase the bone here. And then when you're eating carnivore, you know, and I'll mention the carnivore stuff a few times probably in this, probably several times, but if you're eating carnivore, what you have to do is you have to make sure that you're getting the proper amount of fat in there in your diet, because without it, you're going to burn out. The fat's the energy. So I try to get about 20% or more fat in my diet. All right, 20 to 30%. Sometimes I'll go as high as 50 if I'm you know, chasing eggs here. You know, eggs are great because they have every nutrient in them. I'd say the next best thing would be red meat, and then bacon, smoked bacon, not maple, nothing, no sugar cured bacon, just smoked bacon. It tastes, you know, your traditional bacon that tastes awesome. Just doesn't have added stuff to it, and that added stuff does nothing. It spikes your insulin, and such. So anyway, they're starting to come off. Just stick with me here, folks. Okay, I'm getting down there. This one I did pull out of the freezer, and I let it sit in the fridge for a day. Probably should have done 2 days, because I know I'm hitting a little frost in there, but it's not going to stop me from what I'm doing. And it's kind of easier to cut your other, when you start getting on your other cuts, if your meat's stiff, you know. So and a lot of this is going right back into the freezer once I separate it out and cut the steaks. So you know, I'll be trimming this up for a little bit. So I will get several meals out of this. My girlfriend, she'll use some of it for when she cooks her. She doesn't do the carnivore thing. She's starting to eat more meat though, so that's good. But she makes a lot of Chinese dishes, dumplings, things like that, traditional Chinese food. And I gotta say, you know, I don't do carnivore on the weekends all the time, you know, so I get to eat some of that. And is it so am I true carnivore? No, I'm carnivore most of the time. All right, and I can tell if I'm straying because I don't feel 100%, and I start to put on some weight. So just kind of don't be afraid. You know, it doesn't have to be a perfectly clean cut, because everything comes out all right when it's all said and done here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make two sets with this rib here by cutting down the middle. It'll make it easier for me to cut off too, so as I'm trimming. But this gives me meat for a fraction of the price if I were to buy these in the regular time of year, where it's maybe 15 or even $20 a pound for a good steak, you know. So the ribs, you buy ribs these days, it's usually beef ribs, easy price for hardly any meat on them. Beef ribs can run you about $4 to $6+ a pound. And I prefer to get the best bang for the buck. So, and we on the weekends we often do hot pot, and these bones here are great for the bone broth and hot pot. And I eat the hot pot, and I don't really consider that much of cheating there, because I'm using the bone broth. She eats the vegetables. I do have the split pot with the, looks like a little yin yang symbol. When you look down at the pot, it has two different broth sections. And I stuff one side with all the meat, and I really just dip it in for a couple of seconds to keep it as tender as possible. So when I'm eating meat, and I just eat all meat in the hot pots. I'll eat squid, octopus, beef, lots of beef, whatever I've got. So this is here you go. There's a nice thick set of ribs, and I'm about 1/8 of an inch from the bone on these, all right, or less. However, look at all that meat. That's just some good cuts right there. And I don't know where the ribs always come from when you see them at the butcher or at the supermarket. That's where I get mine. I buy it at the meat counter at the supermarket. Often when I do these, when I pick up these deals here, but this I don't go for the if I could afford it, I'd go for the grass-fed, pan and massaged meat, but I don't. I can't afford it. It's not my budget. I invest my money for the future. I don't spend it all now. However, I'm eating much healthier than if I ate somewhere else. If I was eating out at a restaurant, you don't know what type of meat you get these days. With all the meat glue and all those other things that you're starting to see in the news. I've known it was going on for years, but it is it's kind of an odd scenario. You don't want to be eating stuff that's your body wasn't meant to eat, so And there's the other set of meat. And you go, wow, that's kind of a funny lump on there. Yeah, it is. But there's bone right here too, right? That's not attached to the main rib, but it comes off oftentimes when they cut a thick ribeye roast. So I don't mind that bone being there, because you can, the way I cook these, the meat just falls off the bone anyway. So my girlfriend likes the ribs are her favorite there, and that's that. So now I've got that here's the back side of the meat, all right? That's where I just cut off. It doesn't look all smooth because I didn't use a boning knife to do that. A boning knife is about as long as this, maybe a little longer. Very, very thin though on the blade, and it's very flexible. So if you press down on it, it bends, and you can kind of curve it, and it's right along the bone. It's thinner. Not only is the steel thinner, right, but it's much thinner in the profile here. So it's only about that thick, and it's very, very flexible. you have to look for it, a good one. You can't just take the one out of the standard butcher block or the standard block of knives that you buy at the store, even the Henkels and stuff. You have to really look for a particular boning knife, okay? So, I have all this is all cut here. All right. Now you see the marbling on that meat? That's fantastic. All that white in there, the marbling, it's called. I keep this on because I cook the meat with it, and some people trim it off. Well, you know, you can trim it off. You can add it to make hamburger with, or you can render it down for the tallow for cooking with and such. But I actually eat it. You lose a lot when you're cooking it, but I do eat it. I love the, it gives me that energy. I'm fully satiated when I'm done eating. I don't feel like I lost out on anything. And what I'm doing now, okay, this is what they call I want to make the roast out of the small end. The small end, right, is where the smaller ribs were actually. I don't know if you can see it because there's a little bit of, you know, meat cut, you know, on here. But this is the cap, all right? It's huge on the small end, all right? And it gets smaller as it goes down the length of the roast, right? So, and this is how big it is here. This is the tenderloin cap, all right? And it's huge on this end. So this is the roast. I want this to be the roast. So I'm just going to set that aside and leave it. And with this one, it's going to almost dissipate down to nothing on the large end. So it's kind of the opposite of what you think. The large end has the least amount of tenderloin on it. So when you look in the ads and you go, wow, they're selling ribeye steaks, large end ribeye steaks, or large end ribeye roast at the supermarket for X amount of price, go into the supermarket and say, I want the whole cryovac. Don't trim it. I just want to buy the whole cryovac. And you get it at that price that they're going to give you for the large end, the price that they're advertising you, because you're buying the whole thing, all right? So you go home and you do your own cutting. Look how long this took. I just got 2, you know, healthy racks of beef ribs. I've got a small end roast. The money end it usually costs, you know, a couple bucks more, and a pound. And I've got the large end, which I'm going to be making the steaks out of. All right, so that's how you do that, and then you just cut the steaks. Let me set that aside so I can catch this on camera. So I like my steaks kind of thick, but an inch cut steak is about right there. I like about 1.5 inches myself. I will cut a couple of parts smaller, and this very small, the very on the large end, on the very end, I'm going to cut that piece off, and my girlfriend will make some, you know, awesome stuff with it. So that's how I'm going to break this down. So I'll just cut the first one. Now, mind you, again, it's still a little solid. Knife is sharp, but if it had no frost in it, I'd be through it already. All right. And but the sharp knife, the slow blade penetrates the steak, or something like that. I don't know, something on Dune. Watch that. Anyway, and there's my first steak. All right, there I go. Bada boom, bada bang. I'm just going to do that all the way down. Alrighty, so that's how you do that. I'm going to show you another little trick, real quick, simple trick. I learned this trick in a movie. I used to do meat cutting, by the way, for years. Not years. Sorry. I did it years ago, meat cutting. And all the butchers, right? I'm going to clean this off. This is a honing rod. So all the butchers that were in there, all the meat cutters, technically, as they are a union most of the time, but they would sit there and they'd hone their knife, you know, take the honing rods and constantly sharpen their knives like this, in this direction, all right? And I did that for years. It's not a sharpening rod. That's the big mistake people make. It's not a sharpening rod. It's an And as I was saying before, I was so rudely interrupted by not having enough video space. It's a this is not a sharpening rod. It's a honing. It is for uncurling the blade. So you're going to do that backwards, about 3 or 4 times, not forward. All right, you're doing it backwards, same angle, backwards. It's uncurling the steel, and because that's usually what causes the dullness effect. Feel is the steel is actually curled over from hitting objects, wood, and everything like that. So now it's sharp as a razor. And Japanese knives, they tend to chip. European knives and Asian knives, they tend to chip because they have a hardened steel edge, a harder steel edge, specifically hardened. And Western knives aren't as hard. They're both made for a different reason. But the Western knives tend to bend, to curl over on the, you know, at the microscopic level, really. Okay, so I prefer, depending on what I'm doing, I will use that type of knife. So anyway, I hope this helped you. All right, so I'm gonna end it here. God bless you all. I hope you have a wonderful Easter. Easter's coming up, so you know, hope maybe this helps you if you were to have an idea for a roast for Easter. And by the way, they are on sale right now. You will find them. They're going to be around $7.99 to $8.99 a pound. Even $9.99 a pound is a hell of a deal. It's normally $15 on up. All right, throughout the rest of the year. So hopefully your area has something that fits within your budget, and you know, get to know your butcher. All right, get to know the top dog at the counter, and when you order, so that they listen to you, they know what you want. All right, God bless you all. I love you all. You have a wonderful day, and I hope you have a wonderful Easter. If I don't make another video, I probably won't before then.